They swarmed a building in NYC screaming about Palestine and ICE. They thought law enforcement would just back down, as usual. But this time, they got zip-tied and dragged out. Y'all not going to want to miss this. Team think. This wasn't just a protest. This was a full-on attempt to block federal operations.
No peace. No justice. No peace. No Palantir. No Palantir. Immigrants are welcome here. No Palantir. Immigrants are welcome here. Palantir. Immigrants are welcome here. Remember. No ICE. No Palantir.
This is the New York City Police Department. You are unlawfully obstructing pedestrian traffic.
They got the older gentleman in a suit. He out here looking like a teenager.
This is the New York City Police Department. You are unlawfully obstructing pedestrian traffic. You are in charge of disorderly conduct.
No Palantir. And for ICE to kidnap and sell into slavery.
On black and brown people. And make this.
This is a complete violation of U.S.
People for the
law and all proper statements.
And immigrants to kidnap.
On the sidewalk, please.
Now, that older guy we just seen, the senior, you know, it's not a criminal, right? It was just a man in a suit arrested. No. You gotta ask yourself why. Because these mobs aren't just yelling, they're targeting companies that work with ICE. This right here is calculated. It's more strategic than you actually think when you really put everything in context. Palantir is the name of this company, I believe, helps ICE track illegal criminals. So the far left thought, shut them down, then ICE can't work. But all they did was expose themselves. And this isn't just New York City, y'all. Not at all.
Katie brought her delivery driver for us. Now we won't kick ass dinner. Thanks, Katie.
Hey, get me, bitch. You got some little weak ass mace. This shoots further than yours, bitch. Shoots further than yours, bitch. Shoot your weak ass mace, bitch. You're a weirdo.
So Portland encampment returns. This is Portland. Same game, different city. They took their tents down. So, you know, what did they do? They set it right back up, blocking schools, handing out riot gear. They're not even hiding anymore. The goal isn't protest, it's disruption. And the second law enforcement steps in, they play victim. I'm going to make sure I read this caption for you, just so you know everything I just said. You'll have some more context to it. After the city removed illegal ANTIFA encampment blocking the sidewalk in front of a school next to the ICE facility, the militants set up again in the same spot. They've been giving out riot gear and food. But sometimes these stunts go way too far.
And now to a disturbing story in New Jersey. A peaceful protest over immigration turned frightening after a woman struck several demonstrators with her car. The incident happened this afternoon in Fairview. Video captures the moment. You can see there the driver has a verbal dispute with one protester and strikes him, then plows through a group in front of her vehicle, wounding several of them, even sending one to the hospital. Now the 61-year-old driver is facing several charges. Here's Eyewitness News reporter Sonia Rincon with more.
Tonight, the driver, seen here plowing through a crowd of anti-ICE protesters this afternoon, is facing several violations and charges, including assault by auto resulting in injury and leaving the scene of an accident resulting in injuries. Several injured people are recovering tonight. Fairview police say 62-year-old Linda Roglin and one of the protesters got into a verbal argument. It happened to be caught on video. A worker at a pizza shop across the street started recording the protest because he says he thought it was interesting, happening right outside the window here at Fairview and Anderson Avenues. He saw the verbal confrontation between the two.
I don't know what they said, but they just say something to each other, and then he spits in her face.
He says he never expected to see that, but what happened next was even more shocking. The driver hits that protester, and then more as the car accelerates.
I was scared though, honestly, like for those people, because you never know, man, like there's something like that, you could die, like that's scary.
A protest organizer who was among the injured tells us she told that protester to walk away after hearing the driver tell him, "I love ICE." But the argument escalated. Witnesses in the pizza shop watched helplessly as the car took off. The guy spit at the woman, and that's not okay either, says Julio Torres. He says protesters need to avoid reckless behavior too, especially for something as sensitive as defending immigrants, who he says can't be out here taking risks. After all, there's a good chance you're on camera. But he agrees what the driver did was far more dangerous.
If somebody spits at you, you're supposed to call the cops. You're not supposed to run them over. It's just not the right thing to do.
Fairview police tell us several people were treated for non-life-threatening injuries, and the whole incident is still under investigation. No word as to whether the young man who got into it with the driver may also face charges. In Fairview, New Jersey, Sonia Rincon, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Man, what? They was blocking traffic. Could have been in fear for her life. This woman got spit on by a protester, so she hit the gas. I mean, but let's be real. If someone spits on you in the middle of a mob, what would you do? They pushing normal people to the edge, man. and that's exactly the chaos the left is feeding on. But here's what they don't want you to understand.
The left has been trying to shove Marxism, socialism, and communism down the throats of the American people for generations now. They ultimately were not able to do this during the Cold War because the middle class revolted against communism and Marxism and social engineering. The left shifted their tactics. The Democratic Party shifted their tactics to use migration as a weapon to break down the middle class and to gain political power and control in this country. They used migration to destroy our public education system, to destroy our healthcare system, to destroy wages and working conditions for the middle class of this country, and in effect, to destroy social and community cohesion. Mm-hmm. And then in that rubble, in that chaos, in that conflict, to then try to articulate the need for ever more government control, ever more government redistribution, ever more government power, and then to ultimately import voters to then support that agenda, to import voters who do not believe in limited government, who do not believe in the U.S. Constitution. And that is why you are seeing now this violent insurrectionist revolt by the Democrat Party against immigration and customs enforcement. You see video after video after video of Democrat shock troops in the streets hurling rocks at ICE officers and Border Patrol in their vehicles, firing projectiles at them, violently assaulting them, and yes, opening fire on them. Multiple assassination attempts against our brave and heroic ICE and Border Patrol agents, and barely a word of condemnation from the Democrat Party. In fact, the Democrat rhetoric calling our ICE officers, calling our Border Patrol Nazis and Gestapos and fascists, demanding as they do that ICE leave their communities, this nullificationist rhetoric, all of which inspires and incites these domestic terror attacks against law enforcement. So we really are at a hinge point here for the West, a fulcrum point.
Stephen Miller just laid it out. They failed pushing Marxism through education and media. So now they're using immigration as a weapon. Destroys wages. That's what they want to destroy wages, overwhelm schools, break the system. Then claim only big government can fix it. That's not compassion, y'all. I keep trying to point it out to you. That's control. I'm going to call it out every single time. Now, even some on the left are starting to admit it too.
They should be putting Tom Homan on blast, saying, okay, the FBI has their top 10 most wanted list, right? Let's just get this right. Homan, don't, do it right. List the top 100. Let's go after them. List the top 1,000, criminals that are here that need to be deported. We'll all help you. But the Democrats would never say something to the effect, we'll help you. They only have to do something that's the antithesis of what Trump says and does. You've never heard a Democrat say in the past 7 months, yeah, okay, I don't like it, but this is a step in the right direction. We're going to help, because I think the better path is for the Democrats to bring attention to the bad things and the good things and say on the good things, we'll help you, right? Which they would never say, because that disarms. Whenever you're in a sales environment and you say something positive about your competition, it's disarming. Yeah, we're better, but these guys, that's not so bad. They're trying really hard. Okay, Tom Homan, we don't want criminals. If Venezuela and Colombia opened up their jails and sent all their worst criminals to us, we don't want them here either. If MS-13 has 173 gang members here from wherever, we don't want them here either. Post that list. And you know what? Chuck Schumer, I'm Chuck Schumer. I'm going to help you get rid of them. I'm going to post all those lists everywhere. We're all going to go after those bad guys together because they shouldn't be here. Now you disarm him. Now you disarm the Republicans who, think that that the Democrats can't get anything right. You do things that you can undermine. Undermining in the Democrats' perspective is always, you're wrong, it's Trump, you're wrong. The T word, Trump, is a trigger word, and you can't just always use that in a negative line. The best way to convince people to reconsider is to say, okay, they're doing this. Okay, we'll help them. But let's go, what about these people they're pulling off the streets in black hoodies, right? Post all the bad guys. We'll use our resources. Every single sanctuary city is going to, I'm going to make sure that they all allocate resources to go after the Tom Homan 100. And when one of them's off, you put another one on, we'll go after that one. Let's get those criminals out of here like they deserve to be.
Mark Cuban, who's never been Team Trump, straight up said, let ICE deport the worst of the worst. Post the list. Let's help. All right. Now I can watch Shark Tank again. But what it boils down to is, man, that's not politics. That's common sense. But even Democrats can't say that, because the second they admit ICE does something right, they lose control of the narrative. So let's talk about who ICE is actually going after.
11 men arrested by ICE in the Twin Cities last month, targeting what federal officials are calling the worst of the worst. This news release from the Department of Homeland Security even calls out Governor Tim Walz, saying he and his fellow sanctuary politicians are fighting to keep these sex offenders and other criminal illegal aliens in our country. Instead of comparing ICE to the Nazi Gestapo, Governor Walz should be thanking our law enforcement for removing these pedophiles from Minnesota. 11 men arrested by ICE in the Twin Cities. 11
illegals, all convicted sex offenders, all arrested by ICE in a sanctuary city where they were protected by Democrat policies. These aren't dreamers. These are predators. And somehow the media still wants you to be mad at ICE. That's not just backwards. That's evil.
Investigations. A lot of viewers will remember last week at Prairie Land Detention Facility down in Texas, we saw similar attacks against ICE enforcement officers. Again, it was highly coordinated attacks. They were wearing gear and had rifles as well. This was 10 individuals. But I will say, in those California raids, particularly disturbing the number of politicians that came out and continue to villainize and attack and demonize our ICE law enforcement officers. At that particular operation, David, at those marijuana facilities, our ICE enforcement officers found 14 children, 10 who were unaccompanied. They were likely being exploited, potential slave or forced labor, potential child and human trafficking. So this is something that is incredibly disturbing. It goes far beyond politics. And not only were there 10 unaccompanied children at that marijuana facility, but we also apprehended 361 illegal aliens with heinous rap sheets that include kidnapping, child molestation, rape, serial burglary, hit and runs. These are no people who should not be in our communities illegally, much less around innocent children, David.
Amen.
Tricia, it's Alicia Acuna. Continuing on this topic in particular, according to Customs and Border Control.
Over 360 illegals arrested, 14 migrant kids rescued from forced labor at a California marijuana farm. This is what ICE is stopping. Not families, not dreamers, traffickers, abusers, criminals. And we got the receipts. We definitely do.
We have continued to go after the worst of the worst. The men and women of ICE are working actively in the state of California, and this is one of those cases where we were able to identify employers that are continuing to employ illegal aliens, just like this marijuana factory. Once we dove into the intel that we had, we realized that there could be some cases of some unaccompanied minors, which we all know that over 500,000 unaccompanied minors came across the border thanks to Joe Biden's open border policies. And so we're working every day to get those unaccompanied minors back and find them a home in a safe community that they can go to. And our officers were actually able to also uncover almost 360 illegal aliens working at this site. We have continued to go after the worst.
ICE's own deputy confirmed everything. Hundreds arrested, kids saved. Now, this isn't fake courage. This is documented abuse enabled by open borders and ignored by liberal leaders. But ICE is still doing a job. Meanwhile, this is what goes viral.
What agency are you? Where are you taking them? Under which authority are you detaining them?
Sorry, I didn't understand this. No. I'm not taking it. I didn't understand.
So what agency are you guys with, or through which authority are you guys?
Which press office we should reach out to, giving you guys your...
Why are you not wearing a badge, sir?
Please show me a badge. Please, give a badge from any one of you cowards, please.
And they love showing the crying girl. They love it, boy. The tears, the heartbreak, but what were the same tears for Jocelyn Nagari? A 12-year-old murdered by 2 illegal Venezuelans. Her story was buried. Because she didn't fit the agenda. Meanwhile, Trump's policies actually worked.
El Centro Sector Chief Gregory Bovino, who is running operations on the ground, he believes this is no coincidence. He says that the message is clear. If you're in the country illegally, you will be removed. And migrants, they're hearing it. Many, he says, are no longer willing to pay the cartels for a journey that ends in deportation. The chief saying that they're doubling down their efforts as assaults ramp up against agents and officers. Take a listen.
it's not only at the border, but it's anywhere you go. There's no safe refuge if you're an illegal alien. And that word gets out. That's what we do here in Customs and Border Protection is we turn and burn. That means we go from one set of bad people and bad things right on to the next and the next and the next and the next. We're not going to quit. I'm not going to quit. Where my mindset is we're going to go even harder now. And we're going to go in where we need to go into and do what we need to do, legally, ethically, and morally, of course, to ensure this mission is completed.
Okay, so we have seen this interior enforcement, Kelly, ramp up across the nation. That's also contributing to this new downward trend that we're seeing. So is it coincidence or consequence? The data seems to point to the latter.
Border crossings drop. Cartels stop moving bodies. Illegal aliens heard the message. If you come here, you're going back. ICE doubled down in a media panic because it worked. Law and order came back. And we all know Democrats, they hate that. They hate that with a passion. They hate that more than Trump. The streets are loud, the media is louder, but the truth still undefeated. ICE isn't the villain. The left just hates anything that holds people accountable. So team, think. We're going to stay sharp, stay free, and stay loud about this. Y'all be safe. Please go check on somebody today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.